According to the Congressional Research Service, 3D printing has been used in art, hobbies, education, prototyping, custom manufacturing, defense, medicine, and aerospace. And according to their recent numbers, sales of 3D printers for both industrial and consumers have nearly septupled since 2013. Now, knowing that information, would you like to learn how to print something yourself? Well, even if you don't, I'm here to show you how to print a model with an Ender 3. Now, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to design something. Now, I'm not a designer, I just like to print things. If you want a designer, talk to Brandon, as he did in his last presentation. We know he's a great designer. But here, I'm just designing something small. It's for my Apple Pencil. I'm using the app Sharper 3D, which is an iPad and Apple Pencil based app that lets you draw and use exact measurements. So what I did was I went online, found exactly what the measurements were of an Apple Pencil, and went and put it in those exact measurements and dimensions. And so I just played around with it. You can do little special things. Here I decided that I wanted to add the Apple logo to it. So I took an image offline and I traced it out. That's what I'm doing here. And it's very easy, great app to use. So then after that, I went and I plastered it onto the actual thing, extruded it a little bit, and here's the final project. Alright, now that we have our model completely made, it's time we prepare it for printing. See, we have a bit of a problem right now. That problem is that our model is an STL file and we need it as a G-code file. That way our printer can read it properly. Now the way we're going to change it is we're going to put it through a slicer. A slicer is made to convert an STL file into a G-code file and add little things to make the print as perfect as possible. Now I've sent my STL file from my iPad to my computer through email, which I found is the easiest way. You can see it right here. And now we're going to download it from our email and put it through Cura. Cura is just the slicer I like to use, but you can use others. So we have it there. It's going to be in our download folder. So we're going to come over here, go to downloads, and select the STL file. This will make it pop up right here, and you can move around a little bit. Now the biggest thing is that we're going to look here. Here we're going to see our material and our nozzle use. These are the two most important things when it comes to the next step, which is physically prepping our printer. Now the material is PLA. Make sure you use PLA. It's going to be the base thing that you get in your printer and also what almost everything's going to be when you look for filament. And the nozzle size is the most important thing. I know that I have a 1mm nozzle put in my printer right now, so I'm going to have to change it for the 0.4mm nozzle for this print. So those things are very important to take in consideration. Now the next thing is these basic settings here. I think all of these are good. Now when you originally open Cura, support is going to be turned off. Now you're going to really want it to be turned on for our cases, so make sure that little check mark is there. And it'll be there in just a second. Computer's lagging behind, and there it is. Now it's pretty much perfect now. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to hit the slice button down here. It'll completely slice it for us. Alright, now that it's completely finished slicing, we're going to see how long it thinks it's going to take, which is almost perfectly accurate. So here it shows a little over 9 hours, which is great. And the biggest thing I always recommend is previewing it. So you just click preview, it's going to process your layers. And this is pretty much what your printer sees. So it's always good to check everything and make sure your printer is going to see the right thing. Now see, this is going to be the print, and the little blue areas are its supports, so it doesn't fall when it's being printed. And the best thing is you can see every single layer here, from the very bottom, the first layer, all the way to the top, which is absolutely fantastic. So after you see all that, what you're going to want to do is save it to a file where you can go get it later when we go to Octoprint, and you will be completely ready to go. Alright, so now before we get back to the printer to finalize everything for printing, we're going to want to physically prepare our printer. So, There's going to be a couple things on my printer that a regular Ender 3 doesn't have. I'm going to try to hit everything on any Ender 3 that you'll have to do in order to prepare your printer for printing. But I'm going to have a couple things, and I'll address that a little bit later. For any Ender 3, you're going to want to make sure you have your filament fed all the way through the tube to your nozzle. That's a very big part. That's what's printing, and that's what's making your actual print. So we're going to be using PLA because that's what we put into Cura. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it. I am actually, because I'm using a glow-in-the-dark one. Ooh, fancy. And so that's going to be a little bit of fun. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure your bed is completely level. So what you do on a regular Ender 3 is you're going to bring the nozzle all the way to the bottom, take a regular printer piece of paper, and move it under the nozzle when it's at bed level. And once it has a little bit of tension, but not too much, and not where it's completely sliding under, you want it to feel a little bit of force when you pull on it on every corner. Then it's completely level, you're good to go. Mine, this little red glowy thing, is, I don't know, it's some sort of magic, but it automatically levels my bed, which I love. Last thing you're going to want to do is to make sure you have the right nozzle. As I emphasized before, in Cura settings, we said that we had a 0.4 millimeter nozzle that we were going to use. Right now, I have a 1 millimeter nozzle that I am using. So we're going to really want to make sure we change that. I have a little box of nozzles here that we're going to use to make the change real quick. Once you have that completely on, you should be good. You might want to feed in your filament a little bit, but that doesn't really matter because of the extra layers it puts through, so you should be good there. So now, give it one little extra tug on there, and your printer is completely prepped. Now that we have our printer completely prepped, the next part is actually printing it. Now, on my screen, you can currently see that I'm using Octoprint. If you have Octoprint, just go to the screen. If you don't, then what you'll have to do is you're going to have to put a micro SD card into your computer, upload your file to that, put that file into the little slot on your printer, and then print directly from your printer. I have Octoprint, which is just a wireless upgrade that I put on my printer, but it's really easy to use, and that's how I'm going to show you right now. So what all you're going to have to do is you're going to upload, and then make sure you select your G code and not your STL file. It's going to upload real quick here, nice and easy, and then all you have to do is click, and it'll pop up here, and then you have to hit print. And that's all you have to do for this step. Alright, so the bed is completely heated up, and I just wanted to show you guys what you want to look for in this first layer. First layering is very important. If the first layer screws up, it will not be good. So first it's going to go down. This is itself calibrating itself, and we're just going to watch it real quick. And that's it leveling the bed, making sure everything's good. And now it's going to go over here and make a small line. And right now it's not going to make the line because remember we didn't feed it all the way through, and that's why it's okay that we didn't feed it all the way through, because it's currently feeding its way through as we speak. So now it's going to start printing, and as you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but we have a really good layer being put down at the moment. What you want is you want something that is not going not touching the base, but you also want it to not be digging in. And since it's a glow-in-the-dark filament, it is very hard to see that, but it's laying down almost perfectly. So as I had this little time-lapse going for you guys in the background, I wanted to talk a little bit about our textbook. Now, there's not a lot of terms that translate between communication and 3D printing purely because there's not a lot of communication going on when you 3D print something. But there is one term that really stood out to me, and that's a topic outline. Now, in our book, that really has to do with a speech and how you plan that out, but it really also has to do with 3D printing something. You really have to have an outline of it before you can really work on it. And I thought it was funny how those two things really worked out. And now that we have it completely printed, all we're going to have to do is finalize some things. So first step is actually taking it off of the print board here. Now the trick is to make sure that you have a good grip on it and pull it from the corner. See, it just came right off. And see, it's nice and smooth on the bottom. You can kind of take some of that away. And now the next part is going to be taking all these supports off that we have here, here, and right under the logo there. So I'm going to go show you how to do that somewhere else. So according to Ultimaker.com, the best way to remove supports is to submerge it in warm or hot water so it breaks down a little bit before you remove it. So that's what we're going to do. Make sure not to hold it in there too long or else it will melt the entire thing. Alright, so now that we've had it submerged for a little bit, it's going to be a lot easier to take these supports off. It's still not going to be super easy. Some you'll be able to take off real easy, and you'll see it completely off right there. And then this one, it might take a little harder. So what I recommend is taking one of your tools here, and just prying it in there, and boom, comes right off, leaving nice clean area. And then this just little tiny guy right here comes off, and you have that, all your supports done. Now after you have your supports off, a big thing you're going to want to do is, you can see here it's all crunched up and there's a couple strings laying around. What I'd recommend is using these little snippers and just snipping off every little excess thing. So we got this guy here that we can take off, and then that, and just a couple little snips there, and we have that. And then after you do that, you can add little touches like painting it or whatever you'd like. For this, I'm going to just use a Sharpie and color in the Apple logo so it pops out a little more. Alright, and then once you finish any final touches you want to do, hopefully you have a product that you're really proud of. There it is. I hope you enjoyed my presentation today, and I hope you learned at least something. Who knows, maybe you'll want to become a fellow 3D printer and join millions of people in, as the Congressional Research Service put it, a wide variety of industries. Or you might want to take a path more like mine and just have fun with it and make some great, phenomenal things.